Okay, welcome guys to the town hall. We got Kieran here to answer some of your questions. If you guys, we already have some written questions down for some people that have sent them in. If you don't feel comfortable coming on stage and asking your question, you're welcome to post it in general. I have it up here. We have probably like 12 questions or so written down, so we'll try to get to everybody and try to keep this to an hour long. Um, the main point of starting off this town hall was to address some things that were going on in the IIP chat regarding revenue distribution. So I think we can go ahead and start off there, but also if you guys have questions, just click the hand raise button and I'll try and get to as many of you as I can. And when we don't have anybody come up, I'll read some of the written down questions. So Kieran, yeah, the main thing going on in the IIP chat was clarification on revenue distributions. I think you probably caught up on the IIP chat from what I saw you type in there.
I didn't really, to be honest.
Oh,
I
okay.
try and I mean I know exactly what people are asking, and it's definitely rightfully so. A lot of stuff has been added to the scope that is that has direct costs, and as such, revenue distributions probably doesn't even make sense as a definition of what it is. It's probably best defined as distributions now. And to put it, really simply, and I think, as I said to you, we need to write this out, which I will get onto sometime over the weekend. But essentially, when we first started, there wasn't really any talk of merchandise. There wasn't talk of events and all of this kind of stuff that we're planning on doing now that has direct costs associated with it. What revenue distributions were is the revenue that's attached to the game, which doesn't have any direct costs. When someone travels and when someone fuses alluvials together, when someone harvests things and then creates armor and weapons and stuff like that, none of that has a cost. It's just something that we charge in game, and therefore it made sense for us to say 100% of that will go back to the people that are staked. But now, because we have things like, I guess the best example is merchandise, things like partnerships, things like Illuvifest. All of these things have direct costs which are attached to it, and as such, it should be the definition should be revenue less fees, if you will. It's a very touchy topic. We kind of need to be a little bit careful not to say different words and be very clear with what it is. But in the case of, I think the example that I gave you, in the case of us selling a hat, right, in the merch store, that has a direct cost of, let's call it $10. And if we sell that for $30, and again, don't quote me on this, Brian will kill me for saying prices. I'm just making this up as we go, but that will have a revenue less fees of $20. Now that is what will go back to the vault, and then that will be defined as the distribution that goes back to the stakers. Obviously, if we got, then of that $20, the right now, I think based on what is circulating and how much the treasury has based on the rest of the stakers, it's around about I think 22%. Danny can clarify that. So we're gonna make whatever that is, $4. $2.20 in. No, what did I say? $20 profit. So $4.40. Jesus, basic math right now is a struggle. So the DAO will make $4.40. Now, if it costs, the treasury will make $4.40 of that profit, or of that revenue, and we would obviously go backwards if we were to cop the entire $10 cost that is associated with that and only recuperate $4.40. So if we went and sold hundreds of millions of hats, then the DAO would the treasury would eventually run out of money. That's obviously not an ideal situation and not what we want. So the very I guess the way that we have adapted and the way that the model has moved, we need to factor in these new revenue streams. And I think everyone can agree that selling merch and doing events and, you know, partnerships, licensing deals, all of this kind of stuff is what we want, but it has to be sustainable for the treasury to continue to do it. So it's just a redefining of what we know as revd is and changing that to distributions. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think a lot of people were just. I think that was the main thing that some people were saying was that that the definition itself, that it's not, you know, revenue distribution anymore. That it's, you know, that it just needed an update. And like you said, we've definitely added scope compared to what we originally were doing. So yeah, I think that makes sense.
Does anyone have any questions on that? Is that pretty straightforward? Any issues with that?
I mean,
like obviously totally accepting that right now it just needs to be redefined. It's pretty confusing, but if anyone has any additional questions there or issues with that, let's answer them now.
I mean, we'll see. Nobody's saying anything in general right now about it. I mean, most of the people in general are saying that they understand. So let's see if Crystal has a question regarding that. Let's bring her up real quick. Oh, she went down. Crystal? Okay, we'll bring up Baya. Is this not working? There you go. How you doing, Crystal?
So just oh, sorry.
No, I don't have a question. I think I accidentally pressed whatever it was because I don't usually use this. I apologize.
All right, no problem.
EJS 203. Yeah, you're 100% right. That is the literal definition, and hence why we need to change it. So that's why I wasn't, going in guns blazing into the ICCP channel. It makes perfect sense, and it's just an oversight. As I said, we obviously want to keep things updated as much as possible for new people coming in. The whole argument of, I bought based on every single thing being revenue distributions. The only things that are being changed from that are things like merchandise and partnerships and events, and there's probably a few things that I'm missing there. But my point is, these are additional revenue streams that we've added. And if your argument is, I want that because you said, sure, we can we can redefine it, or we can put it to a vote. But as I just gave you a very simplified example of the hat, if you want hats to be the thing that ruins our tokenomics, then too good. Is what I say.
We definitely,
But yeah, I think the majority gets it.
we definitely don't want hats putting us out of.
I mean, I love hats, but hey, I don't love them that much.
Yeah, definitely. All right, well, I think we've covered that then. We can bring up Pennywise, and then we got some written down questions. And like I said, okay, well, he dipped out. Well, yeah, I got some written down questions from some community members that didn't want to come up and talk or couldn't be here. Let's start with this one. There was some confusion in a couple of AMAs about your comments regarding open beta and summertime 2023. I don't know if you remember what you said exactly, but I think it was questioned to you like they asked you if we would be playing the game next year, and you said something along the lines of absolutely before summer of 2023 or something. So I think they were just looking for clarity on what you meant.
So just to be super clear there, our summer is in Australia, and whenever we talk, we always talk in Australian dates, in Australian or British English when it comes to that, just because that's what Australia uses. And so 2023 summer would start in November, which is, basically I was being a little bit facetious and saying that sometime in the next year, the open beta will go live, basically not giving a date by sort of giving a date, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I clarified and I said, hey, not this summer, just because we're literally 3 days away from our summer starting. So I didn't want people to go and start hitting the buy button and and then saying, "Hey, you rugged us. That summer is 3 days away," and so it meant next year and sometime before. So if it isn't, I don't think I'll be alive. So there's that.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Let's see. We got another one here from Scrubadub Dad. He couldn't be here. He was wondering if we have plans to do Battle Royale or TFT style PvP mode, like not just 1v1.
So I asked Aaron, and his answer was no.
No. Okie dokie. That's easy.
Just no, which is kind of, his thing. He likes to be a little bit vague sometimes. Look, I wouldn't rule it out in the future, but I'm sorry. Yes, summer does start in December. I am literally a moron right now. So yeah, in a month.
Okay, no problem.
December, Jan, Feb is our summer. Thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, my summer is in July, so
yeah,
a little bit different. Okay, what do we got next? Can we? Oh yeah, people have obviously seen the news regarding Apple and what their new policies regarding NFTs, and they're wondering. Hasby is wondering how this will affect Illuvium Zero and how we'll manage it.
So the first thing is it's a WebGL game, and it's launching like that, and it's also going to be on Android. So it's not really it's not going to hit the iOS store for some amount of time. So we're not really thinking about it, but it's probably a good thing overall for the entire NFT space, because it shows that Apple are validating NFTs, which is a pretty big deal. And obviously they want to keep the sales in their ecosystem. We've got some thoughts on how things like fuel and stuff, and if they would selling into a balancer pool, how that would look, and if that would even touch iOS. Things like speed up, so is probably a pretty good argument that, and I think just for ease of use for the gamer, allowing people to purchase speed ups just straight through the iOS store in a couple of clicks makes sense. But we, as I said, have this model of if a direct cost is all of a sudden introduced and associated with it, essentially instead of it being that 100% of that speed up purchase going to the vault, it will just be less than 30% or whatever amount of fees they decide to set. Obviously, it can always go to vote, and we can say, hey, let's boycott Apple, which, I mean, it's never really a smart thing to do. But I guess we'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
I mean, I definitely spent my fair share of money in Clash Royale.
Crush?
No, not Candy Crush.
God, I spent so much money on tower defense games on iOS, and randomly as well. They'll get you with an advertisement, and you'll just go, "Oh, I shouldn't download that game." You download it, and then all of a sudden you're 5 hours in. It's 4 a.m. and you've spent $400. It's yeah. So I don't know. I think the pros definitely outweigh the cons when it comes to Apple, but until we're ready to even launch on iOS, I don't think it's worth talking about.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. What we got next? No, we got somebody that wants to talk. Josh, you ready? Josh, how you doing?
Yeah, good. It's a bit early here, but I'll try and be as cohesive as possible. So yeah, the question I had, a couple of us were kind of been theorizing this kind of stuff. So we learned the Illuvials were like random rolled stats. So when you catch Alluvial, its stats are completely random. Kind of part one of the question would be how big is this random roll? Is it like 4%? Is it like 30%? Because a lot of us are concerned that we would capture or fuse Illuvials to like stage 3, for example, and they would become kind of redundant because we have like, I don't know, bad stats or not the ideal stats for a competitive play. So a load of people would end up with like dead Illuvials essentially for like competitive use or PvP use. So they'd probably flood the market for like really cheap prices. So we were kind of thinking maybe it would be possible to like fuse stage 3s, multiple stage 3s to like re-roll the stats again. That way it burns Alluvial supply whilst adding to the grind of it. Maybe we could add like a ridiculously low, like 0.001% chance for it to roll shiny or something. But yeah, it's just a question quite a few of us had.
I'm fairly certain it's definitely more a question for either Ben or Aaron, but I'm fairly certain that the meta power of the Alluvial is kept, and so when you are fusing those, all three of the metadata total of what the Alluvial is considered. And when you fuse them, you'll get a combination that keeps it at that same level. So they might be different stats, but if your defense goes up by 10 points, your attack might go down by 10 points, something like that. But yeah, I'm fairly certain we don't want to disincentivize people from fusing Alluvials. We want to really incentivize people to do that, and if there's a potential of you fusing and then just getting a dud stage 2 that potentially isn't even as good as the stage 1 that has really good stats, that wouldn't really be a good experience. But we need to get that confirmed, and I can hit Aaron up now. He's in a meeting, but yeah, I can do that.
All right, cool. Appreciate it.
Cool. We'll try and come back to that one for you, Josh.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
No problem. Okay. Got another question from the community. Here, Josh, I'll put you off for now. Okay, let's see, which one do I want to pick? Okay, this is a good one from David72957. Are you ready, Kieran, or are you talking to Aaron?
Sorry, I was just typing and I didn't want to have the typing in the background.
Okay.
Hopefully he understands my question. I'm pretty tired, to be honest, but yeah, he should get back to me pretty soon.
Okay. Well, David asks, what is Illuvium doing differently to all other game studios that they see they can run the business for operating costs at 10% of revenue when all of the biggest publicly traded game studios have their operating costs around 25 to 30% of revenue?
So there's a couple of things there. Firstly, it's not 10%. We're sitting at based on the outstanding ILV that can be staked. I think we received something like 23 or 24% from the land sale. So it is more akin to what you're talking about. However, in terms of mainstream studios and AAA studios, there a lot of those operating costs go into things like R&D, games that are in stealth mode, ridiculously high marketing costs, and we do things like we've portioned off 10% of our entire token supply to incentivize people to play the game through different things like achievements and tournaments and prize pools, and so that alone is needs to be factored in. At one stage, that was $1.7 billion, which is a fairly decent amount that is just sort of sitting to the side. And so firstly, it's not 10%; it's closer to 23. The other thing to factor in is as we are generating revenue through things like Illuvitars and merchandise, and even as we go into building that, as we go into the open beta and we start generating revenue through the game, it might be the case where where the first few months that we launch, we have and I got to again be very careful with my wording here, but it might be the case that we have, let's call it a few good months, and we look at our operating costs versus what we actually need to liquidate in terms of the ILV that the treasury receives, and we might only need to liquidate, say, 25% of the ILV in order to cover those operating costs. And in that case, the treasury will be accumulating ILV over time and then using that to restake, which increases that 23% percentage or whatever it is. Danny can confirm it. It's something around that level. And so, we can strategically sell down only the percentage that we need to cover operating costs, and the rest will be used to accumulate ILV. And at some point we might get to a stage where it's like, okay, now the treasury has like 30% or 35%. That's ridiculous. Let's write an ICCP to reduce the amount that the treasury gets, because it's just accumulating, and that's more akin to what traditional publishers do, and that's certainly not what we want to do. The aim of Illuvium and the tokenomics that we created in the first place was to really have a model where we only use what is required for operating costs and marketing costs and all of that kind of stuff, and the rest is distributed back to the people, right? Like that's the ideal model. And obviously, with the misconception or the confusion around revenue distributions not being distributions, I can see how some people would think, oh my God, they're going to be paying out everything for merchandise and all stuff like that, which obviously would mean that we weren't able to accumulate much ILV and add to that treasury balance. But yeah, hopefully at the start of this conversation we clarified that, and people now have more of an idea of how it works.
Yep, and this is all being recorded, so if you guys missed the beginning, we'll be posting it on our Illuvium archive page, and it'll be there for you guys to go back and listen to that whole beginning speech. Perfect. Lars, or how about this one? Waylon asked, do you have any more information? I know we talked a few times about wagering in the, I think, what are we calling it now? Ascension? Or the Leviathan?
The Leviathan mode?
Yeah.
The Leviathan mode will obviously still go ahead, right? Like that's your way to flex. That's your way for whales to go in, and there'll be a Leviathan leaderboard, and the stupid people like me can go in there and buy up all of the good Alluvials and then still get wrecked by people who are much better at playing the game. In terms of will we be able to actually wager on that, I'm almost guaranteeing that it will not be a thing, and we need to remove it from the documentation and stuff like that. Regulation is obviously something that we are very cognizant of, and we absolutely don't want to get in trouble for having someone that might not fit the age bracket and then the regulator comes down on us and says, hey, what you guys are doing is bad, for the sake of a single mode and a single revenue stream. Because remember, we were only taking 5% as the treasury from those transactions where someone bets 1 ETH or whatever it may be. I don't think it makes sense for us to put the entire project at risk just for that.
Absolutely. I agree. Nothing to put us all out of a job, right? And a great game. All right.
Games, plural.
Yep, games. Let's see here. We'll come to the next one. How about this one regarding Illuvitars? This is from Artemis. We've been told that Illuvitar sets will run in sets of 25. You mentioned in a previous interview that 3 more were being added to the Genesis launch, and one of them was your favorite. Can you confirm the total number of Illuvitars in the first sale? And they assumed your favorite Alluvial was Squiz, can you tell us exactly which one is your favorite?
Yeah, so they kind of rugged me a little bit on that, and I was told that we were going to have Squiz in the first one, and now we're not. There were going to be 3 other Alluvials that were added into the first set of Illuvitars, but now unfortunately it's going to be 25 of. It's still awesome. You've seen a heap of the ones that we've leaked already. We probably leaked all of them, but there's also going to be not 3 additionals. There's going to be 25 additionals, and they're going to be the tier zeros.
Oh, I think some people are unhappy about not having Squiz.
Trust me, I'm also not happy about not having Squiz, but you can't win them all.
Yep, absolutely. All right, let's get our man's. Let's see what Josh has to say real quick.
Yeah, so just to clarify on the fusing question, I love it when my assumptions are correct. I kind of know how the game design team wants to work things. So essentially, there is an algorithm that takes into account the stats of all three of them, and there can be a slight variation. So it could be slightly worse or slightly better, but generally we're trying to make it fairly close. And so you're never going to get into a situation where your stage 1 going to a stage 2 is, if you have a whole bunch of stage 1 that high stats, you don't need to be afraid of, if I fuse these, could I roll a mid tier or even a low tier base stat Alluvial, it'll be fairly accurate to what the previous one was.
You're muted, Josh, if you're trying to answer.
So it was more capturing like a stage 3. So if we found the Ramfire, whatever it is, it out in the overworld, and we caught that's going to be random statted, right? The kind of problem I kind of was looking at is that you could catch it and it not be obviously useful. What are the extremes on that scale? If it's maybe like super defensive, it's got low attack, it's not going to be useful in competitive play. It would be better for people to go around, catch loads of like stage 1s or stage 2s that they wanted, and then fuse them to get the end result stage 3 to use, because they're essentially like crafting the alluvial they wanted. Whereas if you're running around and you're trying to look for that stage 3, it's kind of like it's so random that people may just skip them completely just because it's not worth it, because they're so hard to catch. So that's why I was saying, like, instead of potentially just having them as like dead alluvials, maybe allow fusing multiple tier 3 stage 3s to like re-roll the stats maybe, or something like that.
Yeah, it's an interesting idea. It's definitely a possibility. I mean, it's sort of just part of the randomization of rolling, right? Like you want that excitement, and yes, it might be that it doesn't in competitive play, it doesn't work for you, but it's also going to be priced accordingly, right? So in the case that you have a team that just needs a Ramfire to complete your composition, and you just simply can't afford to get a really high statted Ramfire, there's going to be a whole range of different prices if everyone if there's a bunch of alluvials on, if there's a bunch of Ramfires on the Alluvidex, and you'll find that just being a dynamic economy, you're going to find people that go, you know what, I would love to get the really, really good Ramfire that still is going to fit into my composition and give me the team that I want, but I just can't afford to get the one that's going to be super OP, but it's still better for me to purchase it at a lower price and it fit into my team composition. But having said that, I totally accept your idea as an interesting one, and it's definitely something to put into the ideas channel and probably tag Ben or Aaron and just see what they think, because yeah, it might be I mean, to be honest, catching stage 3s, especially tier 5 stage 3s, it's not easy. So burning 3 of them for the chance of getting a higher statted one would be pretty risky in my eyes, but there's crazy people in crypto. Maybe it is. Maybe it's a thing.
Well, I appreciate your time on the answer. Thank you. I'll stick it in the other channel.
No worries.
Thanks, Josh. All right, let's bring up one of our famous YouTubers right here, Boreox. How you doing, buddy?
Yeah, good. How you guys going?
Wonderful.
Good, thank you.
Just first wanted to say good work to both of you and the rest of the team. Of course, I know it's not easy producing something like this, and there's a lot of work that goes into it, and it's really easy to forget that sometimes. That's all. But yeah, it brings me to my question. I know you can't obviously like give us like a release date or anything like that. But I'm more interested in progress overall of kind of where the game is at. So you're talking about next summer at probably a conservative estimate or whatever it is. But my question is that we're assuming almost that PvP, or at least a beta version of the PvP, Overworld and Illuvium Zero are all completed by the end of the year, and it looks like the first 3 regions are coming along really, really well. I'm just kind of wondering, like, kind of where the progress is at overall that might be pushing a release date back really, really far, if you know what I mean.
It literally was a joke. I was making the joke that it's going to be before the summer because I knew people would assume. Well, I thought people would assume that. I was saying December, but I just meant we don't give dates anymore. I would not take December next year as anything at all, to be honest. There's you're right. I played Overworld. We just got another build the other day that's even better. Everything is coming along really well. It's super polished. There's so many different things that pretty much the only thing that's missing is additional regions. And so, we've already talked about having the ability for everyone to catch all of the different Alluvials across only a smaller amount of regions. Maybe that's 3, maybe that's 4 or 5 or whatever. But we're really, I don't think regions are going to be a blocker for us going to open beta. So yeah, I mean, it's a tough one. Not being able to give dates, I get it. It's frustrating. All I can say is try and do your best to read between the lines and follow as many things as possible. The leaks, the different showcases that we do. Everything is getting to a stage where it's close to being either an alpha or beta. From that point, as long as things are looking good and the back end is happy and the integration with IMX is coming along, there's not there's not going to be take that as you will.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's the overall progression of things that we sometimes don't hear heaps about. I think the dev blog does a really good job of it, but sometimes it doesn't quite have all the details. At least I'm after. I know I can like to go a little bit deeper sometimes, but yeah, no, that's awesome. Thanks for telling me that.
Mm-hmm. No worries.
Cool. Thanks, Scoriox. That actually brings us to a good next question that somebody had, which was, how is Overworld beta access going to play out this time?
Well, we've kind of had a little bit of discourse internally about that. From a marketing standpoint, I think we should either wipe the slate clean or have private beta, have beta access to the different, or beta, alpha, whatever you want to call it, but access, because they're 3 different genres of gaming. Someone like me, if I'm in the private beta and I get access to Illuvium Zero, the alpha, just purely because I signed up for the arena, which is something that I absolutely love playing, I'm not going to play the Illuvium Zero, or I might play it for a day and then not provide feedback because I'm just like, whatever. And so it's not an ideal way to roll out the beta, but I've been overruled in terms of the amount of people internally that think that we should. Apparently, there was something that was said about the community. This is coming from Chris, so sorry if I throw him under the bus here, but apparently the community thinks that if they're in the arena private beta 2, then they get access to every single thing that we ever produce for the rest of time in terms of alphas and betas and whatever, which I don't know where that came from. I don't think I said that, but I might. I really don't.
I think it was originally just said as people would get access to the overworld beta if they had arena, was what originally people thought, but I think that's
or got told, because there's a big distinction there, and as I said, like as we get further and further along, especially things like people that haven't downloaded the beta, like they get access to it, and then for whatever reason, maybe they leave Web3 gaming, maybe they leave gaming and they don't want to do any of that anymore. Maybe they've sold their tokens. I don't know. The multitude of reasons that come about make more sense in my eyes to have a situation where it's a new genre of game that we're bringing out. It's an alpha, it's a beta, whatever the early access is to test out the game. We want the people that want to play that game, right? Like there's people in Illuvium, in the Illuvium Zero channel where like I haven't even been in that channel. Johnny has been, for the most part, communicating with those people, and if a whole bunch of arena people got access to Illuvium Zero and maybe they didn't even have land or whatever, you'd just be like, what is going on here? So I don't know. I think new list, but again, there were like 5 or 6 people that sort of overruled me on that. So as of right now, and it may change, it looks like, if you're in the private beta right now, then you're going to get access to Overworld, which I don't agree with. Just making my piece there.
All right. Well then, I guess, unless something changes, we'll let everyone know. What about, that can bring us, what about any plans for an official roadmap on the website?
Yeah, there's going to be an official roadmap that we're putting out. It's something that the web team are working on. We've had quite a few things to integrate in terms of Illuvitars, as you know, Rich. So they've been busy with that, but it is going to be a roadmap, but it'll just be the order of when things are released. It's not going to have any dates on it. So don't count on that.
Yeah, and there's lots of ways to do that. I've seen a lot of good roadmaps that don't have dates, but they just, they show you what's coming and where we're at, and I think it's another good indicator for people to keep track. So that'll be nice to have, and I'm sure it'll look amazing because our web team is amazing. So, right, let's get Zionic up here.
I haven't seen that guy in a while.
Hello, I've been lurking. I've been here. My question was for Illuvium Zero. I know when it comes to the alpha, I'm guessing you guys still wanted to allow us to get blueprints. Is that still going to be the case? Is a part 1 of 2 question.
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay, so then for part 2, how is the economy going to work in terms of fuel? Because I know when the whole game comes out, you need to buy the fuel off of the open market. But in terms of the alpha, we wouldn't be buying fuel. How is that economy going to work?
So you'll still be generating it, but it just gets wiped, right? So it gets wiped. So you'll have to work for it. You can't just you're not just gonna magically get those blueprints. The idea from Johnny, the last time I spoke to him, is that if you're playing it semi-regularly or even regularly, then you should be able to get all of the blueprints that are released in that alpha stage. but again, they're going to be common, and they're going to be there's not that many that are going to be in there. So the idea is, and again, I hate any sort of early access rewards, but given the fact that it's been delayed so hard and there's so many landholders that are kind of like, this is just utter bullshit and it hasn't meant to be this way, it's just the way that the chips have fallen, I very much conceded and said, you know what, that kind of makes sense. Let's give them a win for being early and purchasing that land. So yeah, that's how that's going to go down.
Okay, so only self-sustaining fuel, so I can't exchange fuel in any way. I have to get it from my own land.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, all right, appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
No worries.
Yep, thank you much. Actually, that can lead us to another question that somebody else had regarding, like, are we actually at the point of integrating blockchain into any of these games, or where are we at with that?
No, but it's something that we're thinking about now. We're, very basic sort of integrations with IMX to allow us to do things like potentially, have achievements and potentially some yield and stuff like that. So obviously, blueprints and stuff like that are going to be NFTs. So there is going to be minor integration, but not the type that you're talking about in terms of like, have we started the full integration? That's going to be probably later in the year.
Cool. Good deal. Let's see here. Captain Merc. See what Captain Merc's got. How you doing? You're muted, sir. If you wanted to ask a question, you need to unmute yourself. Or not. Okay. Well, then we got a question from Excelsius. He said in the AMAs, it was mentioned that Illuvials from a previous set/generation will not be captured when that set ends. Isn't this more off-putting for players who will jump in the future?
I mean, I guess it can be considered as off-putting. We're going to keep it fairly balanced, though. So yes, you might have more fire alluvials in one set, or more earth alluvials, more air alluvials, and then all of a sudden in set 2, that balance changes. But more or less, there's always going to be an opportunity to build the composition that of team that you like and that is effective. But yeah, that's how we ensure that the assets that you've caught stay valuable. We want a situation where, yeah, if you're like, oh shit, that Alluvial wasn't very popular, and now all of a sudden in set 3, having that one allows you to really maximize your team composition, then it's going to be a bit of a frenzy to buy up a previously dormant asset on the Illuvidex. And, that's just another way that we keep those assets ideally appreciating over time.
Yep. I think, and yeah, like he mentioned too, that, they'll be able to buy up the Illuvidex and such too. There's going to be, like me personally, I'm going to be holding a lot of tier 1s or stage 1s for a lot of different reasons, so.
I'm sure you are. Yeah, sorry, I'm definitely not doing the T-Rex, or I've done like 14 calls today starting from 3 a.m. So that's why I'm talking very, usually I yell into the microphone, but I'm basically whispering right now, so Taryn can get fucked.
Perfect. That's all I needed to hear for this whole town hall. Captain Merc, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm fine. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, it's working. Sorry, I think I was muted before. So first of all, big shouts to the management, to the devs, to the team. Excellent job until now. I really appreciate it. And I want to add the question to the blueprint question regarding the zero, alpha, beta, how you call it. It's confirmed that it takes longer to build up tier one lands, to the stage where you can search for blueprints. And is it even possible with a tier one land to actually get blueprints during this alpha beta phase? Because it takes up to 6 months to build the tier one land. And a tier 4 land is much faster to this stage. So
everyone will be able to. The idea is that these blueprints will be much easier. They'll take. I believe they'll be much easier. And I'm deducing that from Johnny's comment saying that almost everyone in the beta, in the alpha, regardless of what tier of land you get, should be able to acquire these early access blueprints.
Okay, this sounds fantastic. Because I bought a bunch of tier ones, and I'm a blueprint hunter. So, okay, sounds cool. Thanks.
Smart man. See you, dude.
Cheers.
Good man.
Cheers.
All right. Oh, we're about 10 minutes left. There's a good one to round it out here, I think, unless anybody else has some questions. But people want to know about Illuvifest. What can you tell us regarding Illuvifest, if anything? When it's going to be? Any leaks about it?
That was just a really, really big joke.
It's not even happening.
No, it's definitely not. No. It is. We're in the planning stages. There's a reason I haven't published that IIP yet. There's a bunch of stuff that we need to get ironed out before we get to that stage. So very much still in the ideation stage. And it's. I can tell you, we're very fortunate to have. Sorry. We're very fortunate to have a bunch of top tier music artists that are ILV holders, right? And they want to help us out and they want to learn about crypto. And that's sort of how all of this came about, apart from Danny's competitive nature of continually going to these conferences and saying that we can do a better job. It sort of came from that, and then it's turned into maybe we can make this educational as like an added bonus for the music acts. And it's been very well received from a bunch of these top tier guys and girls. And I'm thinking, we don't really give dates again, but at some stage next year would be ideal. Somewhere in Australia, just because I personally myself I've run festivals here, and I think having it close to home makes sense, at least for the first one. But everything is still up in the air until we get an approved IIP. But I just want to have a few more things locked in, so we can not be changing the IIP if it gets approved, and then people are like, hey, you said this, and then it's turned out this. It's definitely not been forgotten, and it's going to be a really, really fun event. The ideal is that we make some money off of it. Which again, less the fees will go to the vault, which means revenue distributions from it. Hopefully it will really shine a light on a lot of mainstream people that have negative insights on NFTs. And I just think it'll be a hell of a lot of fun. It'll be the first time that we can really get everyone together from the Illuvium community. And we're talking about going pretty big with this if we have our way. So, lots and lots of tickets to be sold, which means, seeing a hell of a lot of your faces, which is always fun, going to conferences. And so that's kind of where we're at with that. I would look out for an IIP probably sometime next month.
Awesome. This Super Nash is going to be on tap.
Oh man, so I just actually made another investment into Super Nash. They're growing, and my God, is that burger good? Oh, chicken sandwich, whatever you guys call it.
I told you I'll open one up here in California. Let's do it.
We almost should.
I love it. I love me some chicken sandwiches, chicken burgers. All right, let's get up this most famous YouTuber I know.
No, shut the fuck up, man. All right. Yo, Kieran, the question I wanted to ask is, and massive shout out to Dick as well for putting together the governance V2 and everything that the community is going to see at some point. But we've been putting on like a lot of work for that. And my question to you is, obviously governance is a huge part for us as a DAO. And what are your thoughts on the DAO and Illuvium actually like giving light to the governance in regards to like elections? Like we know back in the day I was doing them, like the nominee interviews and shit like that. Does Illuvium have any plans to kind of take that up on themselves and really kind of push that governance side of the DAO to like the front? If you get what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, I think I do in a pretty roundabout way. We've spoken about it in this epoch. We obviously meet fortnightly. We actually met today, and it's something that I think is super important, especially going into the open beta. It's, I really think that we can restructure it in a way that it was originally built around a DeFi protocol. And as you all know, we're a GameFi protocol. And so there's many different factors that weren't sort of built into the governance V1 model. And I think with us spending so much effort on getting this V2 model right, and then obviously building it out in a rather custom way on the website so it's more interactive, I think it would be amiss if we didn't increase the level of scrutiny that goes into the council members and the sub-councils that we're talking about setting up. It's all about getting the right people for the job. And, there's payments that go to these people. And so from my perspective, if, we need someone who is an expert in, I don't know, operations or customer service or the gaming or whatever, we should be able to put them on the right sub council. And I think the remuneration definitely justifies that. So it's obviously it's a brand new thing. We're one of the only GameFi projects that really does have a solid governance model and has since inception. So continuing that and just seeing how it develops over time makes a lot of sense to me. And Rich has done an exceptional job. It's something that is obviously very close to my heart. I think watching it unfold has been a pretty remarkable experience. And, there's been a lot of positives that have come out of governance, but, I was able to give him enough to really go out and say, I think, and it wasn't that much to be completely honest. So again, he's done an exceptional job and he's definitely grown massively as a community manager in the team. And I think he's, with the help of 4 or 5 other individuals who know who they are, he's gotten it to a stage where I'm really happy with it. I said to him, I planned a couple of hours tonight to go through it as a final review and just try and poke any holes into it that I can see. And, there's a few things that are sort of jumping out at me that we need to fix, but we're probably 85-90% of the way there. And so I think, governance V2 is all about bringing it to the forefront.
Yeah, and I can comment on that too. I mean, yeah, like I was gonna say, like don't give me all the credit. I definitely had some help from some others, but I think it's in a pretty good place. It's fairly more complex than our system now, so it's just taken some time to get it into a place where everyone, I think, will at least be decently happy with it. We'll see once we put it to the community, and it will be to the community soon enough so you guys can check it out and then give us your thoughts, and we can start moving forward from there. But yeah, it's been a process, and yeah, it's looking pretty good where it's at now. But yeah, like Kieran said, there's definitely some things that can be adjusted, and I'm sure the community will have their own opinions on what we've put together. But like I said, I think it's pretty good for what it is. It's definitely an upgrade from where we're at now, so looking forward to getting that in everyone's hands as well.
And yeah, 100% Rich. And we're coming up to a new epoch, so that's always really exciting. I love seeing the submissions that come through, and the whole nomination process is a really fun time for me personally, and I know a lot of other people get quite excited about that. So when are we talking, Rich? Do we have a date that the nominations are going to open up?
It's gonna be the end of.
Now I know how it feels. When?
It's gonna be in November. We're gonna try. Yeah, it's gonna be in November, towards the end of November, and we're gonna have some more interactive stuff with governance for sure. Me and Taryn and Daraji have some ideas around doing interviews and getting people more engaged and knowing who the council members are that are going to come on, or the nominees who are, and what they stand for and what their qualifications are. So luckily with Taryn here, he can help me with that stuff, and he's really committed to governance as well. So it should be a good election, fun one this time. So,
are you full time yet, Taryn?
Not really, but I'm trying. I'm trying to do as much as I can, man.
I swear to God, you bugged me on that one. He was like, 2 weeks, man. I got you.
Yeah. It's I'm still doing like crazy hours, so don't stress about that.
How many AMAs are we at?
Oh man, I need to get I think we're about 30, give or take.
Well, only 20
give or
left
take.
here.
You know, also one of the ones that I arranged myself. Like there was like 4 or 5 in there.
Yeah, I got to talk to you about that shit, man. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, yeah, we're at about an hour there. We can cut it off there. I appreciate everyone joining. Thank you for all the questions. We'll do another one of these in, I don't know, a couple weeks, maybe 2 weeks or so, unless anything crazy happens in between then. And this is all recorded, and we're going to post it on our other Illuvium YouTube page. We'll link it in the chat for you guys so you guys know where it's at. But yeah, thank you, Kieran, for coming on.
No worries. Just the last thing that I wanted to say is these things, as you can see, I'm trying to be as many places as I can at the moment, while also still, dealing with the stuff that I do on a daily basis in the DAO. But I know that these town halls can stop, different arguments or I like to call them robust discussions in the different channels that start up. So I guess just ring the bell, right? Call a town hall. There's no reason for me to be out there doing 5 or 6 AMAs in a day, and then inside our Discord it's a dumpster fire of people going, what is this, what is that, how does this work, I don't understand this. So just if we get to that point where, you know, a whole bunch of stuff happens that is annoying a lot of people, just, as I said, ring the bell. We can always have a town hall. It takes an hour of my time. I don't mind doing it. It's, you know, even if it was once a week for the next, you know, 8 weeks, moving into some of these really exciting events, let's just make it happen. It's, you know, I definitely don't spend as much time chatting to people. So if I can do it in, you know, hour session with voice, it's much easier for me.
Yep. And it's gets straightforward answers to the question. And what he means by ring the bell, it means just tag me until I say, okay, town hall coming.
Yeah, that's it.
All right, cool. Well, we'll end it there then. I appreciate everyone showing up. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rich. Thanks, Taryn.